what are your top tips for applying for a role at Fisher German?
I think if I was to apply now for Fisher German, I think a really good starting point would be to look at the website, research the different service lines that we offer our clients, and particularly for the role that you're applying for, if it specifies a specific division that it's in, have a look at our website, have a look at the articles that we've done recently. There's external news going out all the time about the different projects we've completed, the different clients that we work with. It just really shows sort of a good understanding of the division that you're applying for, and it's a really good first step when you're thinking of applying for a role with us. So what would you say with people applying for Fisher German? You know, we speak to people who apply all the time for us. What's been sort of the funniest misconception that you've had when you've said, what do you know about Fisher German?
More than likely that we are all German speakers, or that we have something to do with fishing.
Yes.
Neither of which is true.
Yes, I've got that we're solicitors quite a lot, and a conveyancing firm. And I'm not really sure where the conveyancing comes from on the website, but that really does seem to be one that comes up quite a lot.
A lot of candidates ask both of us all the time how they should dress for an interview. How would you advise them to dress?
Oh, I think that's a really good one, because it's really dependent on the role, the location, the sector that it's in. But I think what I would always recommend is checking in with the talent acquisition advisor that you spoke to initially about the role. But at the very minimum, probably sort of a very sort of smart casual look. So no jeans, no trainers, no hoodie, no football tops. That's a really key one. Or no sort of sporting attire. I think I've had that happen to me once. But yeah, I think check in with your talent acquisition advisor, but at the very least, just make sure that you are presenting yourself in the best light that you can, and that all starts with how you present yourself from how you arrive at the interview. A lot of the initial questions that we have with people coming in to interview is both about how they should dress, but also about how they should prepare for an interview at Fisher German. What would sort of you say would be the sort of the key things to look for when you're preparing to come and see us for the first time?
I think research is so key, but not just research into Fisher German and research into the role and kind of sector you're going to be working in, but researching your interviewers. So when you know the names of your interviewers, look at their biographies on the website, look at things like LinkedIn, and really get to kind of know them and what they're about and their background as well, because no one likes the awkward part of an interview where they say, if you've got any questions and you have nothing. If you've got something to go back with that's relatable to your interviewers, it's only going to go down really well.
It's so simple, but it gives you such an edge in an interview when you can turn around to the interviewers and say, oh, I can see that you attended such and such a university, or I see that you've done a stint at this company. I either used to work for them, or I really admire what they did with that. Did you have any involvement in that project? And it really kind of sets you apart from sort of the individuals who perhaps don't do that level of research. So yeah, I'd agree, not just on the company, but also the people that you're meeting with. It would give you a really good edge.
It's all about going above and beyond, isn't it? I think there's so much sort of bare minimum that you can do to prepare for an interview, but it's really showing how much you want it, and those extra steps I think really matter in that sense. Even things like looking on on FG's website and things, we have really good news articles and kind of insights pages and things to what projects we're working on and what work we're getting involved in. Have a look at those and kind of set yourself apart, not just the kind of surface level of what we have going on. It's delving deeper and really trying to understand what it is we're about, what we value, and the work that we're involved in.
Absolutely. I mean, even we've got the sort of biography pages on the website as well, which goes into each of our individuals and sort of how they've developed through Fisher German. We have so many great success stories of people who have been with us for a long time and grown, and both sort of professionally and sort of personally at their time at Fisher German, and it really sort of helps out hone in on that sort of personal element of the role. So someone was talking to me the other day, and they had this assumption that they had to be a rural surveyor to be interested in one of the areas in our business. Do you ever get that that's a really common perception, that they have to be a qualified rural surveyor?
All the time, and I can't tell you how untrue it is. We have such a diverse service line with so many unique different opportunities, some of which will align to a rural surveying background, some of which will be completely different.
Yeah.
But there is so much plentiful opportunity that it's almost semi-frustrating.
It is, because there's so many great quality candidates out there that just are being held back by this thought that, you know, they need to go through the APC and become a chartered surveyor. And don't get me wrong, some of our roles do require that, but there are so many different career paths open to individuals, and there's so many different ways to become qualified as well. You know, if someone is experienced in another field and just perhaps wasn't quite aligned to the APC, or the APC wasn't something that was open to them at that time, you know, there's the associate RICS route, there's the prelim route, there's the traditional APC, there's apprenticeships. There are so many different ways to get into surveying now, that it's a really good idea if, you know, if candidates are interested in surveying as a career, to research those different avenues. And I know you work a lot on sort of non-surveying roles that also have sort of great opportunities, you know, like our interface managers, project coordinators, project managers. You know, that's something that you don't need to be a qualified surveyor for.
Absolutely. And I think it doesn't just stop there for us, does it? We have, you know, big sort of client accounting functions. We have property administration, property management. Property management doesn't necessarily need to have RICS or MRICS.
Yeah.
You can just be someone who loves being client facing, always wants to do best for your client. We have opportunities like that here as well. You're still technically working in a rural space, but you don't necessarily need a rural background.
Yeah.
And I think it's just that understanding and speaking to people who perhaps already work here, or people that, you know, work in a similar type of industry, in terms of actually the length and sort of distance you can go. And that doesn't mean that you have to be a rural surveyor.
Absolutely. It's, yeah, as I say, so many different routes open, but it's about getting that message out there that it's not a requirement of the role.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to put it in bold in our job adverts.
So you've recently celebrated your 5-year anniversary at Fisher German, and I think people will be really intrigued to know why you kind of joined FG in the first place, but more importantly, how you're still here.
Oh gosh, it's in a way, it's really strange to know that it's been 5 years, because it doesn't feel like 5 years. It's went in so quickly. There's been so much change, but it's been just like such a positive change. I think change can be quite scary for some people, but we have just grown so much. We have implemented so many great things, and that's part of the reason why I've stayed as well. You know, every day is different. Every week brings a new challenge, and it's just it's amazing to do that alongside a group of people that I genuinely really enjoy working with and respect. And I think that's something that's really undersold in a lot of roles, that sort of people aspect. But at Fisher German, it really is a core part of what we do here, and why we do what we do, and why we run the projects that we run. You know, it's all about making the workplace better for our people, because as we both know, you know, you look after your people and they look after your clients, and it's such a core part. And you know, copious amounts of prosecco and caffeine also help, but I've really enjoyed my time here, and honestly, I'm looking forward to the next 5 years. But saying that, I enticed you into Fisher German 3.5 years ago, so why stay?
I think it's the same thing. It's the people. I don't think I've ever quite worked somewhere that's so diverse, and getting to work with so many different characters, different types of people from all different types of backgrounds, but everyone has a mutual goal to make Fisher German just a great place to work. And I think we're achieving that above and beyond, and it's exciting, and still continues to be exciting even 3.5 years later to come to work and know that you are adding value to the business by getting the talent that they want, and that you'll be able to watch flourish throughout their careers as well. So yeah, it's just a super rewarding place to work.
it is nice seeing people, grow throughout the business,
Yeah.
and you speak to people who have been here for a few years now, and they get to tell you about how they've developed,
Yeah.
how they've grown, and it's a nice part of the role.
If we have someone watching who is unsure about next career steps, whether FG is for them, what is one piece of advice that you would give them?
I would just say absolutely just reach out to one of us. We are always more than happy to have any sort of informal conversations with someone who has some questions, whether that's sort of specifically about a role that they've seen live, or even if it's just they're wondering what their next steps are and they aren't quite sure what to do. Just reach out to one of us and we are more than happy to have a chat and see if we can dispel some of those misconceptions.